Hello friends, how are you doing? And I hope you really all are having a great and fun time and everything is going smooth. Yes, I hope you have revised the chapter, you have done the chapter, and let us now see some of the questions, CBSE questions based on the chapter Transport in Plants. Right. Define wall pressure. These are all 1 mark question, so we will see what is wall pressure. Okay, wall pressure. Now, one thing we should know that both the wall pressure and the turgor pressure exerted are equal and opposite, equal in in magnitude but opposite in direction, right. So, what we say that when a cell gets turgid, okay, when a cell gets turgid, right, the cell contents will exert pressure on the wall, will exert pressure, okay, will exert pressure on the wall and this is called as the turgor pressure, and this is called as turgor, okay, and this is called as turgor pressure, right. Why I talked about turgor pressure? Because now I will be able to explain you better the wall pressure. However, the pressure exerted, right, however the pressure exerted by the wall back on the cell contents is called as the wall pressure. Back on the cell contents is called as wall pressure. So, when a cell gets turgid, the cell contents will exert pressure on the wall, and this is called as the turgor pressure, the pressure exerted by the wall back on the cell contents. So, you see they are actually what if this is a cell and we place it in water, a pure water solution, right. This is pure water, there will be endosmosis, right, and because of this endosmosis what will happen, this will get turgid, the cell will get turgid. So, the cell contents will exert pressure on the wall, this is called the turgor pressure, TP, what? TP from the nasal tang, okay, and the wall will exert pressure back on the cell content called as the WP, wall pressure, yes, the wall pressure, okay. There should be some amount of fun going on. Next, name the pores through which guttation occurs. Beautiful. The pores through which guttation is what? The loss of water in the form of water droplets from the aerial parts of the plant, and this process of guttation happens whenever there is excess of root pressure. Takes place in small herbaceous plants, especially in the morning. What happens due to excess amount of water? At the night, what happens? There is excess amount of water absorption, there is no loss of water, the amount of water inside the plant increases, and that excess water is lost from the pores by the process of guttation, and this it takes place through the hydrathodes. The guttation takes place through pores called hydrathodes. The guttation takes place through pores called the hydrathodes, and name the pores through which the guttation occur. Okay, we will move on to the next question. We will move on to the next question. What is transmembrane pathway? The word itself is telling you transmembrane, transmission across the membrane. So, any movement, any transport, any movement across the membrane will be called as the transmembrane pathway. Okay? Any movement across the membrane, right, is called as transmembrane pathway. Right? Any movement across the membrane is called as a transmembrane pathway, and this is what we know. Right. Define water potential. Water potential. Water potential may be defined as a potential of pure water, or any solution for that matter. Or we can say that water potential is the energy possessed by the water molecules. Okay? So, this is the potential or energy, this is the potential or energy possessed by the water molecules. Okay. So, this is the potential or energy possessed by the water molecules. Now, what happens if the water potential of pure water, okay, the water potential of pure water is 0, of pure water is 0. When you add any solute to water, when you add any substance to water, the water potential decreases. On addition of any solute, the water potential decreases below 0. On addition of any solute, the water potential decreases below 0. Why? Because now, because now some of the water molecules have been engaged by this solute. So, the energy, the task which the water molecule can perform has reduced, and that is why we say that the water potential of pure water is 0, and on addition of any solute the water potential decreases below 0, that is it becomes negative, that is it will become negative, right. We move on to the next question. Which fraction of soil water are readily available to the plants for absorption? Yes, it is the capillary water which is readily available to the plant for absorption. The capillary water is readily available, right, to the plants for absorption. Right, the capillary water is readily available to the plants for the absorption, and this is what we say, which fraction of soil water, fraction of soil water are readily available to the plants for absorption. Right. Which mention two ways of absorption of water in plants. Good. The two ways, okay, we are doing the sixth question of absorption of water in plants. The two ways of absorption of water in plants are, one is the apoplastic pathway, and the other one is the symplastic pathway. Right, the apoplastic pathway and the symplastic pathway, and what will we see in the apoplastic pathway? Now, in the apoplastic pathway, what we see that there is a movement of water through the cell wall and the intercellular spaces. Movement of water right through cell wall and intercellular spaces, right, and intercellular spaces. However, in the symplastic pathway, we will see that there is movement of water within, okay, within the cell, and then from one cytoplasm of the cell to the other by channels called as the plasmodesmata. So, there is transport of water, there is movement of water from one cytoplasm of cell to another through plasmodesmata channels. Plasmodesmata channels. Okay. So, these are the two ways of absorption of water in plants. We move on to the next question. What are the factors affecting the rate of diffusion? Right. What are the factors affecting the rate of diffusion? Factors affecting the rate of diffusion. Factors affecting the rate of diffusion, the first of them is temperature. The first of them is the temperature. The more is the temperature, the more energy the diffusing particles will have, because the kinetic energy has increased and hence the rate of diffusion would be higher. Okay? The more the temperature, the more the temperature, the more kinetic energy, the more kinetic energy the particles will have, and hence higher rate of diffusion. Okay? And hence higher rate of diffusion. Secondly, factors affecting the rate of diffusion, first of all is the temperature. Secondly, we will have the what? The density of the diffusing substance. Right? Density of the substance in which the diffusion is happening. So, density of the medium or substance in which diffusion is happening. Right? The lower the density of the substance in which the diffusion is happening, the more will be the rate of diffusion. And fourth, the diffusion pressure, the diffusion deficit. Okay? What is the concentration deficit? Concentration deficit. What do you mean by this? Say this is a medium to which there are 80 particles here, say, and there is just 10 particles. The difference is 70. Okay, concentration deficit, that's what. So, and say this is another example B, and this is say A, and say there is 80 particles here, but here it is 60. So, the diffusion pressure deficit is 20. So, what will we see? The rate at which diffusion is happening in A is much more than as compared to in B. Yes, but here the deficit is more, and hence the diffusion rate will be more. Yes. So, these are the factors affecting the rate of diffusion. What else? Distinguish between active and passive absorption of water. Okay? Active absorption and passive absorption. The active absorption along concentration against the concentration gradient, the passive absorption along the concentration gradient, So, does passive absorption require energy? No energy, no ATP or energy utilized for this. However, active absorption, here active energy required, right. The transpiration does not have a role to play. No role of transpiration here. No role of transpiration. However, in passive, the transpiration pull plays a very important role. Transpiration pull plays an important role. Okay, the transpiration pull plays an important role where in the passive absorption. However, in the active absorption, there is no role of transpiration. Then what will we see? In the active absorption, we will see there is an involvement of there is dominant contribution by root hair cells. No contribution no much contribution by root hair cells. Okay. So, these are some of the differences between I think this is more than enough for your 3 marker. Now, let us move on to the next question. Write the significance of plasmolysis. Okay. Write the significance of plasmolysis. Now, what is happening actually in plasmolysis? If you place any cell, any living cell in a hypertonic solution, if we place any living cell in hypertonic solution, right, then there is shrinkage leading to plasmolysis. Before, there will be a flaccid state and then it will turn into a plasmolyte state. Now, when we talk about the significance, we will see the addition of salt to pickles and all, right, addition of salt to pickles and all to pickles creates a hypertonic environment, creates a so addition of salt to pickles creates a hypertonic environment, creates a hypertonic environment, right, creates a hypertonic environment and thus would kill the bacteria or germs, right. We move on to the next question. Distinguish between transpiration and the evaporation. transpiration and evaporation. Right. Now, transpiration is a process which takes place from the aerial parts of the plant, right. Transpiration, this takes place from aerial parts of plant, from the stomata, okay, and this takes place from the surface. This takes place from the surface of, this takes place from the surface of any water body, or column of water, right. Both the transpiration and evaporation are due to the solar energy. Transpiration, we can say that yes, transpiration here the solar energy plays a minimum significant role. Here, because because of heat, the evaporation is majorly taking place. The solar energy is mainly responsible. The transpiration leads to a force called the transpiration pull, leads to a force called transpiration pull. There is no generation of force. There is no generation of force here in the evaporation. The transpiration, yes, the transpiration, the transpiration, it leads to cooling, and even the evaporation will lead to cooling. Both of these leads to cooling. Friends, I think this is more than enough for your 5 marker. Any more doubts, you can always get back to me, and the time we meet again, a very goodbye from this side. Thank you.